Hi, everyone. I am interviewing Genelle Smith today. She has graciously agreed to tell us a little bit about her work at Wellspring Women's Program. What's it called? Women's
Center, Wellspring Women's Center.
Wellspring Women's Center. And Genelle is the executive director. And so it really is an honor to have you with us today. I wanted to start by just asking if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be involved with the Wellspring Women's Center.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for being your interest and support of our center. So, of course, my name is Genelle Smith, and I am a social worker actually by trade. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been a social worker for over 20 years in the Sacramento, gosh, over 25 years now in the Sacramento community. It just time flies, right?
Mhm.
Um, and for me, I think I've always been a social worker. It's kind of been who I am, a part of me that has great compassion for people who are suffering or struggling and have always wanted to do something to alleviate the pain and the struggle of others. It's just been a part of me. And so when I found out that was also a profession, it just seemed like awfully amazing. I was like, wow. So then for me, I guess social work has led me into many different directions. I've offered lots of different services throughout my career, and in 2009, we were in a sort of economic crisis. There was a lot going on. And I was really called to return to more safety net community work at that time. And I would say that what brought me to Wellspring is God, or whatever energy you call God, whatever that language means to you, something much bigger, greater than me. Um, and I had been a donor here. And so I heard that Wellspring was hiring for a social worker, and it felt like I really wanted to get back to this work, community work, safety net work, being with people who are really struggling and having a hard time, and how I could support and assist. And the mission of Wellspring, of course, just aligns with my values. So 2009, I quit my nice income state job and said, I'm going to be a social worker at Wellspring. And the executive director at the time, she was like, you're not going to, we can't pay you what you're making at the state. I was like, I'm very aware of that, but it was about my heart and where I wanted to be and how I wanted to spend this very small time we have on the planet here. So
Right. Oh,
that's how
that's
I got
wonderful.
here. And so then I became the executive director in 2017. And here I am.
Well, it sounds like it was an absolutely perfect match.
Mhm.
And so that really is wonderful. Um, I know that on your website you have some fantastic stories and information about Wellspring Women's Center. And so we'll certainly be sharing that link with our congregation. But in the time that we have, if you could give us kind of a brief sketch or snapshot of some of that, that would be really helpful. One of the things that I'm sure we're all interested in is what are the types of services that you provide?
So I think the important thing, that all of this is kind of couched in our history. Everything we do is based on a very particular mission, which is really providing respite with hospitality, with dignity and love. And the sisters who founded, there's two sisters of social service who founded Wellspring Women's Center. They were also social workers, and they were walking downtown and they encountered somebody who needed help, needed a meal, and they took them to a fast food restaurant. And as they were speaking to this individual, they realized it was a woman. It was a homeless woman. And in
Mhm.
that time, in the early 1980s, there wasn't real understanding about homelessness and extreme poverty conditions for women. And they just, it sat on their heart, this encounter, this meeting with this woman. And they really realized they wanted to do something. They wanted to have a space to talk, because that was what felt most important about that encounter, not
Mhm.
the meal they provided,
Mhm.
but the love that they shared in the conversation and the connection. And so they felt really called, again, that
Mhm.
word, it's a um, strong word in our organization, to do something. And
Mhm.
they went on their separate ways and kept working. And About 3 years later, Sister Catherine said to Sister Claire, if we don't do something, we'll never get something done. We just need to do something. So they, without any, just with a lot of trust and faith, they rented a storefront on Broadway in Sacramento and opened the door with a Mr. Coffee maker and a dozen donuts. And we're just like inviting women in.
Wow.
So there was coffee and donuts, but really there was love, there was connection, there was being seen, there was the opportunity to sit down, to talk, to experience community. And so that's the foundation. So when I talk about how Wellspring has grown, it's important to know that we've never outgrown that. We open the doors every day in a much bigger location than that little storefront, but we invite women in and we provide them a very nutritious meal. And we invite children in, provide them a very nutritious meal. It's more than, just the coffee and donuts now, right? It's, a full. Certainly very happy that we can provide such good nutrition for our community, but that is still secondary to that mission of love, support, community, connection, that you can come through the door and be seen fully and be loved. And that's a no questions asked situation. So you can come through the door here. We will never ask you your name or any information.
Yeah. I saw one of the things I saw on your site that it said who is eligible. And I think it said that to be female or a child. And I love that. That is a pretty broad open door. And that's really wonderful. I would have to certainly agree with you that both Sister Claire and Sister Catherine, as well as yourself, were called to this work because, wow, that's really perfect. That's a perfect for addressing the kind of need that exists. So, all right. And then is there one thing in particular that you are particularly proud of with this work? Or, I mean, you sort of alluded to one aspect of that you seem most interested in, but anything that you feel most proud of?
So I think when I think about Wellspring, I always feel like the community, I don't know if it's something I can be proud of, right? It's the community is doing it, so I can be excited about it, enthusiastic about it. But I feel like there was, through the pandemic, we've had, some hardships, and we've kept the doors open every day. We've adjusted. I feel accomplished in that we've been able to continue to serve the community despite all of the adjustments we've had to make. And remembering that, a vast majority of the individuals that we serve, the women we serve, are unhomed. So they had no place to shelter or, so there was a true kind of coming to terms with the inequities in the midst of this pandemic and the risks and the vulnerabilities. And I do feel accomplished and glad that we were able to keep the doors open and supporting the women and children that didn't have places that they could go for support or shelter and safety.
That's great. I understand that you serve 200 plus women and children on a regular basis. Is that right?
Yeah, each Monday through Friday.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's a big number too, but are there any particular stories or one particular story maybe that stands out that would be beneficial to share?
Oh boy, all of the women are amazing stories, right? So I'll just give the one that comes the quickest to mind.
Sure.
We have one of our guests currently who is a senior, and she's been struggling for some time with housing, and we've been working hard to help her to get access to all of these supports and be on lists and all of those things. But in the meantime, she comes in every day and has her meal and offers us conversation, and we connect and we talk and we provide her safety net stuff. And so just this past week, when she got her notice that was like, oh, you can come look at, there's apartments, your name is up on the wait list. There was just everybody, the whole place was like, yay! It was like all of this just joy for her. And not just from us staff, but the volunteers, just everybody just overjoyed. And so it was like such a moment. And those moments to me are not they're fewer and far between because it is so hard to get people help and services, especially housing. But what was most important about that moment is that we were here for her that whole time, right? And we'll keep being here for her even when she's homed. And so I think her story just speaks to the story of how we help, and that is that we will witness and accompany you through the hard times and the great ones, where we celebrate and get excited about the things that are happening that are positive. And yeah, so she really, that was a good moment this past week to celebrate with her.
Yeah, be able to rejoice with those who rejoice. That's really
Mhm.
exciting. That's great. So tell me, where do you get most of your support?
Oh, from people.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're a very small nonprofit here, right? So we
Mhm.
do what we do on a shoestring.
Mhm.
We don't get any major federal grants or anything like that. We have donors. We have people who give to us and who are kind and support us not only with their money but with their goodwill, their prayer, or anything that they can offer us is so
Mhm.
positive.
Mhm.
In-kind items that we get, like coffee and those things that people drop off. So I feel like our main support is individual donors. It's the community. So
Right.
we serve community and we are supported by community. So I guess it's a
That's
full circle.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, we certainly at Sacramento Friends want to be helpful in supporting, and one of the ways we're doing that is through individuals fasting and kind of saving money that they would have normally spent on food to be able to share with Wellspring Women's Ministry, or excuse me, Women's Center. And I think that we'll also share a list that from your website, if that's okay, for those gifts in kind, if
Yes,
that would
please.
still be beneficial.
Always, yes.
Great, great. So, if you can think of some specific things that we can be praying for you and Wellspring Women's Center?
Uh, or we start our meetings every week with prayer, and this just recently it's been primarily about the state of the pandemic and hoping that we can see an end to some of these deaths and the illness, and just for the whole world, not just our community, but our community has been hard hit. And we also, for the individuals who are unhomed, especially those women and children out there, there's so many who have no shelter. There's no shelter available,
Mm,
even
mm,
though they want it. It
right,
doesn't exist
right.
right now.
Yeah,
And so they're always in our prayers.
yeah.
Their
No,
safety, um, that they don't forget that they matter.
right, right. Well, good. Well, thank you for all that you do to make sure that they know that they matter. That really is incredible. That's a huge gift, and I know I can tell it comes from your heart, and that really is amazing. And we're grateful for the work that you do. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Anything important we should know before we end this interview?
No, we just thank you so much for your time and for your support of our mission. Really appreciate you too.
All right. Thank you so much. And God bless you. I hope that this is a good week ahead for you, and that you have many answers to the prayers and desires of your heart.
Thank you so much.